Ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today to speak on a topic that profoundly influences the way we live our lives: enemies of the mind. We live in an age where mental well-being has become just as crucial as physical health. And yet, just as there are enemies of the body, diseases, fatigue, and injuries, there are also enemies of the mind, which, if left unchecked, can steal our peace, our productivity, and our happiness. Fear is one of the most potent and persistent enemies of the mind. It has the ability to shape our thoughts, influence our behaviors, and hold us back from achieving our true potential. Fear often arises in response to the unknown, the unfamiliar, or situations that challenge our comfort zones. But what makes fear particularly dangerous is not just its presence, but how it distorts our perception of reality. It convinces us that failure is inevitable before we even attempt something new, and in doing so, it stifles our growth, creativity, and resilience. At its core, fear is an emotion that arises from the perception of danger, real or imagined. This perception often creates a state of heightened alertness designed to protect us from harm. In earlier times, fear served an evolutionary purpose. It kept our ancestors safe from physical threats such as predators or environmental hazards. In modern times, however, the threats we face are no longer physical, but psychological. We fear failure, rejection, judgment, and criticism. These fears are not based on concrete, immediate dangers, but on abstract concepts that we have constructed in our minds. The danger of fear lies in its ability to create a cycle of self-doubt and inaction. When we are afraid of failing or making mistakes, we are less likely to take risks or step out of our comfort zones. We may procrastinate, avoid challenges, or settle for the status quo because the idea of facing failure feels too overwhelming. Fear convinces us that we are not capable, that we are not good enough, and that the consequences of trying and failing are too great. But in reality, this fear is often based on false assumptions and exaggerated worst-case scenarios. The worst thing that could happen may not even be as bad as we imagine. What is crucial to understand about fear is that it is not always a sign of weakness or inadequacy. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty and change. It is a normal part of the human experience. But it is also a response that can be managed, understood, and transformed. Fear doesn't have to paralyze us. It can serve as a signal that we are on the brink of something new or important. It is an indication that we are stepping outside of our comfort zones and pushing the boundaries of our capabilities. In this way, fear can actually be seen as a marker of growth, a challenge that invites us to step forward into new experiences and learning opportunities. One of the key ways to overcome fear is by reframing our mindset. Instead of viewing fear as something to avoid or escape, we can view it as a natural and necessary part of the growth process. By shifting our perspective, we can learn to embrace fear and use it as a catalyst for action rather than a barrier to it. This shift requires recognizing that fear is often irrational, that the worst-case scenario is rarely as catastrophic as we imagine, and that failure is not the end of the road, but an opportunity to learn and improve. Building resilience is another important strategy in overcoming fear. Resilience is the ability to recover from setbacks, adapt to challenges, and keep moving forward despite adversity. The more we expose ourselves to fear-inducing situations, the more we strengthen our ability to handle discomfort and uncertainty. Resilience is not about eliminating fear entirely, but about developing the inner strength to face fear with courage and confidence. An effective way to build resilience is through gradual exposure. By taking small, manageable steps toward confronting our fears, we can build confidence and reduce the intensity of the fear over time. Each step forward is a victory that reinforces the belief that we can handle whatever challenges come our way. This approach helps to break the cycle of avoidance and self-doubt, allowing us to take control of our actions rather than being controlled by fear. Another important tool in overcoming fear is self-compassion. Fear often triggers harsh self-criticism as we worry about how others will perceive our actions or outcomes. Practicing self-compassion means treating ourselves with kindness and understanding when we encounter fear or failure. It involves acknowledging that we are human, that it's okay to feel fear, and that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. By being gentle with ourselves, we reduce the grip that fear has on our minds and free ourselves to take bold, confident steps toward our goals. In conclusion, fear is a powerful enemy of the mind, but it does not have to control us. By understanding fear as a natural and manageable emotion, reframing our mindset, building resilience, and practicing self-compassion, we can overcome its hold on our lives. Fear is not the end of the road. It is simply an invitation to grow, evolve, and pursue our dreams with courage. The more we face our fears, the stronger and more capable we become, ultimately leading us to a life filled with greater fulfillment and success. Self-doubt is one of the most pervasive enemies of the mind, often lurking quietly in the background, undermining our confidence and sabotaging our potential. It's that voice inside our heads that whispers, "You're not good enough," or "You don't deserve this." At its core, self-doubt stems from an internal struggle where we question our own abilities, decisions, and worth. It is an emotional barrier that can prevent us from reaching our goals, taking on new challenges, and realizing our true potential. Unfortunately, many of us experience this enemy on a regular basis, especially when faced with new opportunities or when stepping out of our comfort zones. What makes self-doubt so insidious is that it's often subtle. It doesn't always shout at us or appear in a form that's easily identifiable. Instead, it creeps into our thoughts when we encounter a challenge, creating hesitation, uncertainty, and fear. Self-doubt leads to overthinking, second-guessing, and a lack of conviction in our decisions. It tells us that we're unqualified, that we lack the skills, experience, or expertise necessary to succeed. These thoughts can lead to inaction as we become paralyzed by the fear that we won't live up to expectations, or worse, that we'll fail entirely. The impact of self-doubt is far-reaching. It doesn't just affect our confidence in specific situations, but can erode our overall sense of self-worth. When we constantly question our abilities, we begin to internalize these doubts and develop a negative self-immune. We may start to believe that we're not capable of achieving anything significant, that we're destined for mediocrity. This belief can create a cycle of self-sabotage, where our actions or lack thereof align with the doubt we feel. We may procrastinate, avoid difficult tasks, or settle for less, all because we don't believe we're worthy of something greater. The roots of self-doubt are complex, often linked to past experiences, societal expectations, and the way we interpret challenges. For some, early experiences of failure or criticism can lead to an internal narrative of inadequacy. If we've been told we're not good enough in the past, we may carry that message into adulthood, allowing it to define our sense of self. Additionally, comparisons to others can fuel self-doubt, especially in an age of social media, where we often see others succeeding and living what appear to be perfect lives. This can make us feel like we're falling short, even when we are making progress in our own lives. Another key factor contributing to self-doubt is perfectionism. Many people who struggle with self-doubt are also perfectionists, setting impossibly high standards for themselves. The fear of making mistakes or falling short of these standards can create a constant state of anxiety, where the individual feels they must be flawless in everything they do. This fear of failure, combined with the desire for perfection, can paralyze them from taking action, leaving them stuck in a cycle of inaction and frustration. Perfectionism can exacerbate self-doubt, as the more we try to meet unrealistically high standards, the more we reinforce the belief that we're not good enough when we inevitably fall short. Overcoming self-doubt is not easy, but it is possible. The first step in overcoming this mental enemy is to recognize its presence. Awareness is key. We must acknowledge that self-doubt is a normal part of the human experience, but it doesn't define us. It is a feeling, not a fact. Once we recognize that self-doubt is simply an emotion, we can begin to challenge it. One powerful way to do this is by identifying and reframing the negative thoughts that fuel our doubts. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," we can say, "I am capable of learning and growing." By consciously changing the narrative in our minds, we begin to shift our mindset from one of fear and limitation to one of possibility and empowerment. Another important strategy in overcoming self-doubt is to focus on past successes. When we doubt our abilities, it's easy to forget all the things we've already accomplished. Taking time to reflect on our achievements, big and small, can help remind us of our capabilities and strengths. Keeping a journal or list of accomplishments can be a valuable tool for building confidence, especially during moments of doubt. It serves as a reminder that we have faced challenges before and come out stronger on the other side. Seeking support from others is also crucial in overcoming self-doubt. Often we are too close to our own struggles to see things objectively. Talking to a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist can provide valuable perspective and reassurance. Other people can remind us of our worth and help us see our potential when we're too clouded by doubt to recognize it ourselves. Finally, embracing imperfection is key to conquering self-doubt. It's important to understand that failure is not a reflection of our worth. Mistakes and setbacks are opportunities for growth, not indicators of our inadequacy. By reframing failure as a learning experience, we can reduce the fear associated with it and stop allowing it to drive our self-doubt. In conclusion, self-doubt is a powerful enemy of the mind, but it is not invincible. Through awareness, reframing our thoughts, focusing on past successes, seeking support, and embracing imperfection, we can break free from its grip. The key to overcoming self-doubt is recognizing that it doesn't define us, it's simply a challenge to be overcome. As we learn to trust ourselves, embrace our imperfections, and take action despite our doubts, we become more confident, more resilient, and better equipped to live a life of fulfillment and achievement. Negative self-talk is a formidable enemy of the mind, quietly undermining our self-esteem, confidence, and overall mental well-being. It is the constant inner dialogue that critiques, belittles, and judges us, often without reason or justification. This inner voice can be so convincing that we begin to believe its harsh words and, in turn, shape our reality based on these negative beliefs. Negative self-talk is often subtle, coming in the form of dismissive thoughts, self-criticism, or exaggerations about our flaws. However, its impact can be profound, affecting our mental health, relationships, and success in life. At its core, negative self-talk stems from a distorted view of ourselves. It's the internal monologue that feeds us lies, convincing us that we are not good enough, not worthy, or incapable of achieving our goals. This voice often starts in childhood or adolescence as we absorb messages from our environment, be it from family, peers, or society, about who we are or what we can or cannot do. Over time, these messages become internalized and we begin to believe that our worth is based on our accomplishments, our appearance, or the approval of others. Negative self-talk thrives in this environment of self-doubt, telling us that we will never measure up or that we are destined for failure. One of the most damaging aspects of negative self-talk is its tendency to generalize. We may make sweeping statements like, "I always fail," "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never be successful." These all or nothing thoughts create a negative feedback loop, where one failure or mistake is seen as evidence of our incompetence. For instance, if we make a mistake at work, negative self-talk might tell us, "See, you can't do anything right," or "You'll never be promoted now." These thoughts exaggerate the situation, ignoring the nuances and the fact that everyone makes mistakes. Instead of learning from the experience and moving forward, we become trapped in a cycle of self-criticism that only serves to undermine our confidence. Another form of negative self-talk is catastrophizing, the tendency to imagine the worst possible outcome in any given situation. This type of thinking exaggerates the consequences of even the most minor mistakes, convincing us that something small will lead to a disastrous result. For example, if we're nervous about a presentation, our inner dialogue might say, "If I mess this up, I'll never get another opportunity, and everyone will think I'm incompetent." Catastrophizing magnifies the fear of failure and makes it seem as though a single slip-up will irreparably harm our future. Negative self-talk also often takes the form of self-blame. When things go wrong, we tend to place the entire burden on ourselves, believing that we are the sole reason for our struggles or setbacks. This kind of thinking leads to feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy. If a project fails, for example, we might tell ourselves, "It's all my fault. I didn't try hard enough," or I'm a failure because of this. This kind of self-criticism ignores external factors and denies us the opportunity to learn from the situation. Instead of finding constructive ways to address the issue, we get stuck in a cycle of guilt and self-punishment. The effects of negative self-talk are far-reaching. Over time, it erodes our self-confidence, makes us more prone to anxiety and depression, and limits our ability to take risks or pursue our goals. When we believe that we are not good enough or that we will fail, we become hesitant to step outside of our comfort zones, missing out on opportunities for growth and success. Additionally, negative self-talk can damage our relationships, as it often leads to feelings of inadequacy and a lack of self-worth. If we constantly criticize ourselves, we may project these feelings onto others, doubting their love or support. Breaking free from negative self-talk requires awareness and intentional effort. The first step is to recognize the patterns of negative thinking and identify the specific thoughts that are holding us back. Awareness is key because in many cases, these thoughts operate on autopilot, running in the background of our minds without conscious thought. By catching ourselves in the act of negative self-talk, we can begin to challenge and reframe these thoughts. One effective technique for combating negative self-talk is cognitive reframing. This involves replacing negative thoughts with more realistic, balanced perspectives. For example, instead of thinking, I always mess up, we can reframe the thought to, I made a mistake, but I can learn from it and do better next time. Reframing helps us to break the cycle of self-criticism and replace it with a more compassionate and constructive approach to failure. Another powerful strategy is self-compassion. Negative self-talk often arises from a lack of kindness toward ourselves. When we make a mistake or face a challenge, we are quick to judge ourselves harshly, forgetting that we are only human. Practicing self-compassion means treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend. When we practice self-compassion, we are less likely to engage in harsh self-criticism and more likely to approach ourselves with empathy and encouragement. Additionally, affirmations can be a useful tool in combating negative self-talk. By consciously repeating positive statements about ourselves, such as I am capable, I am worthy of success, or I can handle challenges, we begin to reprogram our minds to focus on our strengths and potential. Over time, affirmations can help shift our self-perception and replace negative thought patterns with more empowering beliefs. In conclusion, negative self-talk is a powerful and destructive force that undermines our self-esteem, mental health, and ability to succeed. However, it is not invincible. Through awareness, reframing, self-compassion, and affirmations, we can break free from the grip of negative self-talk and create a more positive, supportive internal dialogue. By learning to treat ourselves with kindness, embrace our imperfections, and focus on our strengths, we can build the confidence and resilience needed to thrive in all aspects of life. Procrastination is a silent and insidious enemy of the mind, one that has the power to derail our goals, delay our progress, and breed stress and frustration. It is a behavior characterized by the avoidance of tasks or responsibilities, often in favor of more enjoyable or less demanding activities. While procrastination may seem harmless in the short term, its long-term effects can be detrimental to our personal growth, mental well-being, and overall success. What makes procrastination particularly dangerous is its ability to distort our perception of time, making us feel as though we have more of it than we actually do. This false sense of security can lead us to delay important tasks until the last minute, resulting in unnecessary stress, rushed decisions, and subpar outcomes. At the core of procrastination lies a conflict between short-term gratification and long-term goals. Often, procrastination is triggered by tasks that seem overwhelming, unappealing, or anxiety-inducing. Rather than confronting these tasks directly, our minds seek immediate relief by engaging in distractions, such as scrolling through social media, watching television, or even performing trivial chores. These activities provide temporary pleasure or relief, but do nothing to move us closer to our goals. Procrastination is often a coping mechanism to avoid discomfort, but it also perpetuates that discomfort by prolonging the inevitable and increasing anxiety over time. One of the main reasons people procrastinate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of inadequacy, or fear of making mistakes. The longer we avoid a task, the greater the pressure builds, as we convince ourselves that we will never be able to do it well enough. This fear of not measuring up can become paralyzing, leading to a cycle of avoidance that only fuels the procrastination. The procrastinator may rationalize their behavior, telling themselves, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "I work better under pressure." But these thoughts only serve to delay the inevitable and increase the stress when the deadline inevitably approaches. Another factor that contributes to procrastination is perfectionism. Perfectionists often set unrealistically high standards for themselves, believing that anything less than perfection is a failure. This can lead to a sense of being overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of a task, causing them to delay starting it altogether. The fear of producing something that isn't flawless keeps them stuck in a cycle of inaction. Procrastination, in this case, is a defense mechanism allowing the person to avoid the emotional discomfort of facing their own perceived imperfections. Procrastination is also linked to a lack of motivation and poor time management. When tasks seem too large or daunting, we may feel a sense of helplessness, unsure of where to begin or how to break them down into manageable steps. This lack of clarity can cause us to delay taking any action at all. Additionally, without a clear plan or timeline, it's easy to fall into the trap of putting off important tasks for less urgent but more immediately gratifying activities. The absence of structure and deadlines can create a sense of ambiguity, making it difficult to prioritize tasks effectively. The consequences of procrastination can be far-reaching. In the short term, it may seem like a harmless way to avoid discomfort or boredom. However, the longer we delay tasks, the more stress, guilt, and anxiety accumulate. As deadlines approach, we may rush through tasks, sacrificing quality and attention to detail. This can result in subpar outcomes, missed opportunities, and a lack of fulfillment. Procrastination can also damage our reputation, as it may lead to missed deadlines or uncompleted projects, affecting our professional relationships and personal credibility. In addition to the immediate consequences, procrastination can also have long-term effects on our mental health. The constant cycle of avoidance and anxiety can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. The more we procrastinate, the more we reinforce the belief that we are incapable of handling tasks or meeting our own expectations. Over time, this can erode our self-confidence and create a sense of helplessness. Chronic procrastination is often linked to anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges, as it perpetuates negative thought patterns and keeps us stuck in a state of inaction. Overcoming procrastination requires a multifaceted approach. The first step is to recognize and acknowledge the behavior. Once we become aware of the patterns of procrastination in our lives, we can begin to take action. One effective strategy is to break tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps. When faced with a large project, it's easy to become overwhelmed and avoid starting. However, by breaking the task into smaller, specific actions, we can make it feel less daunting and more achievable. This approach helps to reduce the sense of overwhelm and creates a clearer path forward. Another important technique is setting clear and realistic goals with specific deadlines. Having a concrete plan in place can help combat the ambiguity that often leads to procrastination. By setting achievable milestones and holding ourselves accountable, we can maintain focus and stay on track. It can also be helpful to prioritize tasks based on their importance and urgency, ensuring that we tackle the most critical tasks first. Time management techniques such as the Pomodoro technique or time blocking can also help create structure and focus, reducing the temptation to procrastinate. Managing the emotional aspects of procrastination is also crucial. Acknowledging the underlying fear, perfectionism, or self-doubt that fuels procrastination is key to breaking the cycle. We must learn to embrace imperfection and accept that mistakes and failures are a natural part of growth. Shifting our mindset from one of fear to one of learning and progress can help alleviate the anxiety that often accompanies procrastination. Additionally, practicing self-compassion is important. Rather than criticizing ourselves for procrastinating, We should approach ourselves with kindness and understanding, recognizing that overcoming procrastination is a process that takes time and effort. In conclusion, procrastination is a powerful enemy of the mind that can have far-reaching consequences on our productivity, well-being, and mental health. By understanding the underlying causes of procrastination, fear, perfectionism, lack of motivation, and poor time management, we can begin to take steps to overcome it. Through strategies such as breaking tasks down, setting clear goals, practicing time management, and addressing the emotional triggers of procrastination, we can regain control over our actions and move closer to achieving our goals. Overcoming procrastination is not about perfection, but about progress. And by taking consistent, small actions, we can break free from this mental enemy and create a more fulfilling and productive life. Negative influences from others are among the most harmful enemies of the mind. These influences can come in many forms, whether they are toxic relationships, criticism, manipulation, or societal pressures, and they can significantly shape how we view ourselves, our potential, and our place in the world. The impact of others' negativity can create lasting emotional scars, undermine self-confidence, and reinforce destructive thought patterns that limit our personal growth. In many ways, the negative voices around us can become internalized, leading us to question our abilities, second-guess our decisions, and even compromise our values to gain approval or avoid conflict. One of the most common and damaging forms of negative influence is toxic relationships. These are relationships characterized by criticism, manipulation, control, and emotional abuse. Whether they are with a partner, family member, friend, or colleague, toxic relationships can have a profound impact on our mental health. The constant barrage of negativity, belittling, or gaslighting can erode our sense of self-worth and make us question our perception of reality. Over time, we may begin to internalize the negative messages, believing that we are unworthy of love, respect, or success. These toxic influences can lead to anxiety, depression, and feelings of helplessness, as we may feel trapped in a cycle of emotional turmoil and self-doubt. In addition to toxic relationships, societal expectations and cultural pressures also play a significant role in shaping our self-perception. From a young age, we are bombarded with messages about what we should look like, what we should achieve, and how we should behave. The media, social media, and peer groups constantly reinforce ideals of beauty, success, and status that are often unrealistic and unattainable. When we don't meet these standards, we may feel inadequate, unattractive, or inferior. These societal pressures can lead to a distorted self-perception and a constant desire to conform to others' expectations. The desire for approval or acceptance can become overwhelming, causing us to suppress our true selves and act in ways that are not authentic or fulfilling. Criticism, both constructive and destructive, is another powerful negative influence. While constructive criticism can be valuable in helping us grow and improve, destructive criticism can have the opposite effect. Destructive criticism often comes from individuals who lack empathy, who are quick to judge, or who have their own insecurities. This type of criticism can be demoralizing, especially when it is delivered in a harsh or condescending manner. Repeated exposure to negative criticism can cause us to doubt our abilities, feel unworthy of success, and become fearful of making mistakes. The fear of further criticism can lead to a constant state of anxiety, making it difficult to take risks, pursue our goals, or embrace new opportunities. Another negative influence comes from the pressure to compare ourselves to others. In an age dominated by social media, it is all too easy to fall into the trap of comparing our lives, achievements, and appearances to those of others. Social media platforms often present an idealized version of reality, showcasing only the highlights of people's lives and hiding the struggles, failures, and imperfections. So this creates a skewed perception of success, making us feel like we are falling short. The constant comparison can lead to feelings of jealousy, inadequacy, and dissatisfaction with our own lives. We may begin to measure our worth based on the accomplishments or lifestyles of others, forgetting that everyone has their own unique journey and timeline. The damage caused by negative influences is not always immediate, but it can accumulate over time, gradually undermining our mental well-being. When we internalize the negative messages of others, we begin to shape our own self-concept around those beliefs. We may start to see ourselves as less capable, less worthy, or less deserving of success. These beliefs can become self-fulfilling prophecies. As our actions and decisions are influenced by the way we perceive ourselves, we may avoid opportunities for growth, settle for less than we deserve, or fail to pursue our passions because we believe we are not good enough or capable enough to succeed. Overcoming the negative influence of others requires a strong sense of self-awareness and self-worth. The first step is to recognize the impact that external negativity has on our thoughts, feelings, and actions. By acknowledging that we are being influenced by toxic people, societal pressures, or destructive criticism, we can begin to distance ourselves from those influences. Setting healthy boundaries is an essential part of this process. This may involve limiting time spent with negative individuals, asserting our needs and values, and protecting ourselves from harmful opinions or judgments. Learning to say no and prioritize our well-being is crucial in maintaining emotional health. It is also important to build resilience against the negative influences of others by cultivating a positive self-image. This can be achieved by focusing on our strengths, accomplishments, and values rather than seeking validation from external sources. Positive affirmations, self-compassion, and mindfulness practices can help reinforce a sense of self-worth and self-acceptance. When we learn to trust ourselves and embrace our unique qualities, we become less susceptible to the negativity of others and more confident in our ability to make decisions that align with our authentic selves. Additionally, seeking support from positive, uplifting people is essential in overcoming the effects of negative influence. Surrounding ourselves with individuals who encourage, inspire, and support us can provide a much-needed counterbalance to the negativity we may encounter in other areas of our lives. These relationships can help us maintain perspective, remind us of our worth, and provide guidance when we are feeling uncertain or vulnerable. Lastly, it's important to recognize that we cannot control the actions or opinions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. The key to overcoming negative influences lies in strengthening our inner foundation and learning to trust our own judgment. By cultivating a sense of self-compassion, setting boundaries, and surrounding ourselves with positivity, we can protect ourselves from the harmful effects of external negativity and build a life that is aligned with our true selves. In conclusion, negative influences from others are powerful enemies of the mind that can shape our self-perception, hinder our growth, and undermine our mental well-being. Whether through toxic relationships, societal pressures, destructive criticism, or constant comparison, the negativity we encounter can have a lasting impact on our mental and emotional health. However, by cultivating self-awareness, setting boundaries, nurturing a positive self-image, and seeking support from uplifting individuals, we can overcome these influences and reclaim our sense of self-worth and confidence. The journey to mental well-being begins with the decision to prioritize ourselves and protect our minds from external negativity, allowing us to live a life that is true to who we are. The lack of purpose or direction is a significant enemy of the mind, leading to feelings of confusion, dissatisfaction, and a sense of being lost in life. Without a clear sense of purpose, individuals often struggle to find meaning in their daily activities and long-term goals, resulting in a lack of motivation and fulfillment. A life without purpose can leave individuals feeling adrift, disconnected from their values and passions, and unable to see the point in pursuing any particular course of action. Purpose is the driving force behind motivation and the pursuit of meaningful goals. It gives us something to strive for, a reason to get up every morning and face the challenges of life. Without purpose, people may feel aimless, like they are merely going through the motions rather than living with intention. This sense of purposelessness can lead to feelings of frustration, depression, and anxiety as the individual struggles to understand why they are doing what they are doing or what their life truly means. The lack of direction often manifests as a sense of indecision or a fear of making the wrong choices. When people are uncertain about their purpose, they may feel paralyzed by the vast array of options available to them. The fear of choosing the wrong path can lead to inaction, as individuals avoid making decisions or taking risks. This procrastination fueled by indecision can prevent them from making any progress toward their goals, further reinforcing the sense of being stuck or directionless. Furthermore, without purpose, individuals are more likely to succumb to external pressures and expectations rather than following their own passions and desires. They may feel obligated to pursue careers, relationships, or lifestyles that do not align with their true selves simply because they are seeking validation or security. This can lead to a deep sense of dissatisfaction as they live in a way that is not authentic to their values or aspirations. The key to overcoming a lack of purpose is to spend time reflecting on what truly matters to us, our strengths and our passions. It requires self-awarenesses, introspection, and the courage to follow a path that aligns with our own vision for life. By setting meaningful goals and pursuing activities that bring joy and fulfillment, individuals can create a sense of purpose that motivates them to take action, build resilience, and lead a life of meaning and significance.